Mayor Elorza is in the house, and I will not shout over him, I promise.
The Dan Yorke State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Taco Comfort Solutions.
Welcome in. State of the cities are supposed to be pomp and circumstance, not unmitigated disasters, and it was this week in the city of Providence. We'll talk to the mayor about that. It's been a while since he's joined us, so we've got a lot to cover. Here's a headline from the coverage on WPRI.com. I could play this for 9 seconds or 30 minutes. It all felt the same.
Good evening, everyone.
And then this headline, I think, prefaces at least this part of the question. Yeah. Why didn't you? Mayor, good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Appreciate
Great to be
you
back
coming.
on here, for sure.
It's been a while, and I hope we can, if we have more frequent visits, we won't have to capture the whole last year and actually talk about some positive stuff. I mean, you want to talk about a train wreck on, I think, both sides. Listen, their behavior is inexcusable. I don't know if you got this word yesterday, but we had 2 teachers call the radio show, both of whom said to us that they didn't realize they were interrupting you.
Really? Well,
What?
I'm very thankful we had a loud speaker system in the room. So, I gave them an opportunity to voice their concerns, and then when I realized that they weren't going to stop, I just spoke really loud into the microphone, and I checked with everyone. They told me they were able to hear my speech. So, it's important for them to be able to express themselves. And it's important for me to be able to express myself. And, what's important about this is, we're still at the negotiation table. That's the most important thing. And what I want to do, everyone knows that my main priority has been education and it's been kids. But, when you look at where our investments go, kids spend 20% of their waking hours inside of a classroom. The other 80%, they're outside. And just as much learning happens there. But we spend about $350 million in that 20%
This is Dan McKee's old speech,
peanuts
by the way.
On that other 80%.
You borrowed his formula.
Is that right?
That's his 2080, his 2080 Harvard educational philosophy. I want to get to your philosophy in a second, but tell me, that was a bad optic for everybody. And honestly, while I don't excuse that rally disposition, nor the disposition of Mary Beth Calabro, the president, it seemed like you're completely disconnected from what was going on in the optic there. Everybody's got Monday morning quarterback and hindsight capability. But I'm trying to figure out, A, did you not know they were going to pull this stunt? B, did you not prepare for it? And C, did you not have an audible to call?
No, we knew they were coming. And so my plan was come in, give them a moment to express their concern, and then get going. I didn't know that they would go the entire time.
It's not the kind of thing your staff or you ought to profit with.
So that's why I'm really thankful. We had a very good sound system. I gave my speech, and they chanted and they did their thing throughout, which is their prerogative. But I gave my speech, and I know that people in the audience heard it.
Yeah, but you've got an entire city and state that unless we think the state of the city is something that doesn't really matter that much. That can't happen.
No, that can't happen.
That can't happen. I think the state of the city matters. I think the message that you're bringing matters. Whether people agree with it or disagree with it, parts or in whole, it matters. And to have that kind of a scene, I just think that something's missing in terms of how you guys read it and then how you guys dealt with it. Did you talk to law enforcement about the idea that they had to gently escort that crowd out if they didn't behave? I mean, if think about this. If you're giving that speech and 3 people stand up and start shouting you down, they're out the door.
Yeah,
the cops will take them right out the door. Now you got 800 doing
that's fair, Dan. But I don't think that's the story. That's like that one
That is
moment,
the story.
And that's fine if people want to focus on that. What I'm focused on is making sure that we're delivering for our kids every day. That's the important thing to me. As a mayor, I'm not interested in winning an argument. As mayor, I'm interested in solving problems. And my approach to education has been, let's invest directly in our kids. Look at the investments we've made in the summer and early childhood learning, the investments that we're making directly in computers, the investments that we're making in summer jobs and recreation opportunities. That's what matters to create opportunities for kids. And that's my focus. So when we're at the negotiation table with the teachers, I don't have in mind what happened on one night and they were chanting. I mean, that's already the past for me. What matters for me is the future and making sure that kids are getting the opportunities they need.
All right, look, you're on message. And I'm doing this a long time.
Oh, but
when a guest is on message, a guest is on message. And there's just so much I can do to get you off message. And I'm not trying to get you off message. Let me ask you this way, because I want to talk about these priorities. And I do want to get by the debacle of this week. What have you learned about what happened that night so that it doesn't happen again?
Well, I mean, to that point, I did speak with the city council. So, you know, we meet regularly. We happened to meet yesterday. And it's a formal city council meeting. And there are things that they can do to make sure that people come in knowing what's expected of them and what happens if you don't. I agree. We can't have that again. And, you know, I think that there are mechanisms in place to prevent that from happening. But again, that's already the past.
All right, so the union would say that part of the reason why is we have a short clip here from the president of the union. She says it's all about meeting arrangements and that kind of thing.
I've been waiting since the last meeting to get a phone call to meet.
So, I mean, what's the current pace of communication between you and the union?
So I left her a message maybe the end of January or so, and I still haven't heard back. And this is like maybe 2.5, 3 weeks ago. But look, we're still at the negotiation.
Say, let's get together?
Yeah, give me a call. Let's talk about this. And, you know, I think that there's a solution here. And, you know, it really ties into the city's fiscal challenges. I mean, it's no surprise that the city has these fiscal issues. We've been doing well, but that's going to evaporate in a second if we don't address our long-term challenges. And I think there's an opportunity to work together. I've been pushing for the past year and change to lease our water supply board, to once and for all fix our pension challenges. If we're able to do that, then we can have maybe $35, $40 million additional in our budget every single year. And then when I'm negotiating with the unions, well then, you know, there are resources there that I can offer in exchange in the negotiation. Right now, we're just scraping by on this rainy day fund that we've put together. That's going to disappear in our second. And I can tell you something, Dan. The city is not going bankrupt under my watch.
All right, so
I am not going to allow it, and we're not going to spend more than we can afford. With that said, let's be creative. Let's negotiate. Let's work together. Let's find some solution that addresses our concerns with the finances, but also delivers results directly for kids. That's my focus.
You're hitching this specific negotiation to this big systemic problem that you have with pensions and the sale of the water supply board.
All of them. So, for example, if you look at all the contracts that I've negotiated, we have had our eye on the city's short and long-term finances from the very beginning. The first one was with 1033. Look at the details of that one. And then you know about the dispute with the firefighters. That, again, was all financial. With the police officers, they have binding arbitration, but we negotiated hard to get the best deal possible for the city. And once again, and so, you know, I'm reaching out to the unions here, and you know, I'm letting you know that, you know, we have really significant long-term challenges. We can all work together. It's in all of our interests to address the long-term pension challenges. If we work together, then it's in everyone's interest, and we don't have to go through such tense negotiations over money.
Well, tell me what the difference is between changes to the pension system now and into the future and recovery for the unfunded liability. They're they're inextricably tied, but they're two different problems.
Yeah.
So you want to sell off the one major asset the city has. That doesn't worry you that there's no backstop? That this is it that A, crucial, and B, well, I know it's crucial.
Yeah,
the pension
crucial.
problem, the unfunded liability is crucial. Yeah. But it seems to me that along with all the other communities that are in really bad shape that way, there's got to be a state-municipal combination solution to that.
I hope there is, but
there's got to be a bailout somewhere along the line.
I'm not waiting for someone to come to save us. If it happens, great. But what we have a solution and a plan in place. All we need is the authorization. And the reason why we're looking at water is, first of all, because it's an extremely valuable asset. But second, you know, we have other municipalities benefiting and profiting off of our system. So my point is basic. If anyone's going to benefit from it, let it be us. We backstop all of the risk. God forbid something happens, we're on the hook. So let us have the upside as well. And if we're able to address it once and for all, that clears up again maybe $30 to $40 million
What's holding
in
up
our annual budget.
What's holding up selling the asset?
Probably leasing it, some way monetizing it, but we need authorization from the General Assembly. So it was introduced twice before I was mayor. We introduced it last year, and we're going to introduce it every single year until it gets done.
Why no latch on from the General Assembly?
So I think I think two reasons, and this is something that we just have to do a better job collectively on. The question that people had last year was, what's the impact going to be in rates to my constituents? And so when we presented this year, we'll be ready to answer that question and let folks know that we believe we can actually lower the rate increases over the next 40 years than what we've had in the past. And second, I think it's really important, where there's a will, there's a way. And we need to make the case that, you know, all the development that's happening in Providence right now, it won't happen if we're on the brink of bankruptcy. Look at places like Hartford and Connecticut and other cities. It's in the state's interest as a whole to make sure that we're working in partnership with Providence, and that's the case that we have to make.
All right, more with the mayor when we get back. Stay with us.
Let's commit to investing $1 billion over the next 5 years to finally fix our public schools.
I caught the governor kind of on a not so technicality on that one. We already are spending $500 million in the General Assembly budget in backing up renovations across the state in matching funds. So that initiative, while 250 and 250, frankly, the city of East Providence could suck the whole thing up with the timing of what they're doing with their schools in the first go-round. Part of the issue reportedly that the union was upset about and continues to be, and who doesn't blame them when they see, as they say, rats and mold and you name it in the schools, that the working conditions are just unbearable. Mm-hmm. You don't deny that.
No, not at all. That's a real issue.
So what up?
So what we've done last August, I believe, you know, we had an announcement that over the next 10 years, the city is going to be investing up to $400 million repairing our schools in the city. So we've already begun the process. We've hired a nationally renowned architect and engineering firm. We're engaging the community. We've had hundreds of people participate already. People are hungry for this, and we know teachers and students demand it. They deserve it. And we have to have classrooms that inspire kids to learn.
Families who have students,
kids know.
The families who have
kids
students
know whether you value education. You walk into the classroom. Some kids are using jackets inside the classroom because the heating system doesn't work.
It's a complete mess.
That's an embarrassment.
The politics of this are not easy, because the people who are craving this are the teachers, certainly the students, the parents of students. But once kids get out of school age, the politics of this become a little bit more difficult. Is the $400 million a bonding issue here?
So in part it would be bonding, but also using state money. So it's a partnership.
So part of what she's talking about, the governor's talking about, is part of your deal?
Yes.
That ain't approved yet. What's the concrete, formidable plan for the city of Providence to change this dynamic?
Yeah. So several things. So we've already started that process. We're going to be going out to bond to fix our schools regardless.
How much?
And we hope, I believe we have, the bonding capacity of up to $400 million over the next 10 years. And our plan is to keep our debt levels equal over the next 10 years. So as old school debt comes off of the books because it's paid off, we'll go out and borrow that same amount and reinvest it into our schools. That's why the financial issues are so important. So, when I took over and put together my first budget in the city, we were facing a $13 million deficit, sort of 1 year over the next. We've closed that and paid it off. We finally have a rainy day fund. And so, to use a doctor's analogy, what we've done is we've stopped the bleeding and we've stabilized the patient. But now we have to talk about long-term health. And in order to talk about, long-term 10, 15, 20 years, we have to make these infrastructure investments right now and have a strategic plan into the future. We've done that on infrastructure throughout the city. We're doing that with our schools. We've done it with the way that we put together our budget.
Do you have a timetable, a list of schools, and who's first, who's second, who's third? I mean, your articulate rhetoric is very high level. People want to know, when's my school going to get fixed?
So
do you have a list?
We have that. Yep.
Is a timetable published?
Yep. So yeah, it's all public. We actually have to get our school infrastructure planning approved by RIDE every 5 years. So we're actually on the last year of that 5-year plan that's about to expire. What we're doing right now by engaging the community is putting together the next 5-year plan. And how are we going to pay for it? part of the money that we're committing on the city side, but also we're strongly pushing and advocating for the state because potentially more dollars can be available so we can do more
So
work.
what other than normal maintenance are we going to see in the foreseeable next week, month, year in terms of, you know, there's not been much attention drawn to this school, that school, shovel in the ground, addition being made, ceilings being fixed. I mean, what tangibility are we seeing?
So
I mean, you're going to an
if this
open.
bond measure gets
You're
approved,
announcing 3 new vehicles this afternoon, which is kind of cool. When are you going from school to school to say, hey, guess what? Cafeteria is not going to have mold in it for the next 2 years because we just fixed it.
So that's been happening over the past 5 years as well. I think in Providence we've invested something like $40 million, and you know you have to patch roofs, you have to put in new roofs. So there's that
that
work
feels
that
like
needs to
maintenance
be done,
capital, not
which
capital
is
capital.
important.
No doubt.
We've
Which is why we're in
neglected to do in the past.
I agree
exactly.
completely.
So that work has been happening, but what we want to do is bring this infusion of resources and investments into it so that, I mean, potentially we're in a position to build new schools. So the conversation that we're having with the community is we're asking, what does education look like in 5, 10, 15 years? And then how do we design our school buildings and our classrooms to suit that? So
That's
you know,
part of
it
the
might
analysis.
Right, so it may be that, you know, it's a, you know, we have this sort of cemetery style seating where it's kind of drill and kill. But does the classroom of the future, does it look more like pods? Are there sort of alcoves that students can do independent directed study? If that's where education is heading in, well then our classrooms should facilitate it. And so, you know, that all of the planning is happening right now, and we should be seeing something within a couple of years. You know, the referendum hopefully will pass, then you have to go out to bond, and then you go through all the processes. It takes some time, but, you know, all of this and preliminary initial planning, that's what we haven't done for a very long time.
Okay.
So that we're not here 10, 15 years ago from now thinking, shoot, we should have started back in 2018.
Well, speaking of communicating with the state, we'll come back. There's a trial that's been going on which has kind of shown a whole bunch of problems there. Stay with us.
Well, I'm not necessarily saying I'm confident, but I think if the information that was out there, it certainly shows reasonable doubt. We're confident that perhaps 12 other eyes on this case would give a different result. So I don't really want to go into anything else too specific, but you know, we're very disappointed, and she took an immediate appeal and is anxiously awaiting to be tried by a 12-member jury of her peers.
A couple of weeks gone by since Violet LeMar, the principal of a local elementary school, middle school rather, in elementary school in Providence, I got jammed up on this didn't call DCYF in time law. And to see this principal, who otherwise has got a perfectly clean record and reportedly an impeccable work resume, being charged and going through a trial, is horrifying. Don't you agree?
Absolutely.
All right, here's the big question is that all the way up the line to the superintendent, and to his credit, he was candid on the stand and has been candid in public about not even being aware of the law and its passage. My question is, how is a city the size of Providence and a school system the size of it not have a liaison communication with the General Assembly about what the heck law they're passing regarding what the procedures are for something as important as that?
Yeah.
That is a debacle.
Yeah, you know, if you ask superintendents throughout the state, they'll say the exact same thing. I think that, you know, there's a lot more that can be done.
Most, not all.
Yeah, fair. There's a lot that we need to do to make sure that, you know, especially something like this, because you know what worries me most is that people are human. And so everyone throughout the school department, they're seeing a colleague of theirs being taken away in handcuffs, and they're thinking that's not going to be next.
Right, it's a freak show. They've been calling DCYF
so it's an
in record fashion.
Caution,
right,
exactly, and it swings the pendulum
but who
too
is
far on the
who
other
in City
end.
Hall or in the school
So what
department is
we've done-
talking to the General Assembly? You've got a bunch of
Oh, no,
reps.
we're talking with them, yeah.
How could that happen?
No, so I've reached out directly, and we're hoping to you know, work this session to make those changes. But you know what we've done in the interim, and so far it's working, is let's add an additional level of review. Now, it's human nature. Every principal, every teacher, they're going to default to just report it.
I'm not.
But before it gets reported,
please hold on.
Let's have a mechanism so that not everything goes to DCYF.
That's not the question I'm asking right now. I'm asking, how does a law get passed in the General Assembly statewide for protocol and teachers and superintendents to put in a new program, whatever it is, and people don't know about it? That up the row from principal to middle management to the superintendent get on the stand in the people's court and say, I didn't know the law was passed. Yeah. How does that happen? Doesn't that make you want to throw things in the office?
Yeah.
I mean, how does that happen?
So, yeah, I mean, a lot happens every single year, and I mean, you may be shocked to hear this, but I mean, a lot of laws get passed, and in fact, we just dug something up in the city, an ordinance passed back in 1980 that we think the city hasn't been complying with. So, I mean, you're right. I mean, this shouldn't happen. The unfortunate reality is that it does happen, and when it does happen, we have to put the right mechanisms in place.
Well, what's the right mechanism
sure
other than calling my delegation and/or the General Assembly to make sure that there's some, or RIDE, to make sure that there's some kind of reporting out?
Yeah.
I mean, one hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing in government, and that's problematic. Let me ask you this.
There should be more.
What is your philosophy about Violet LeMar? Superior Court, she may kick it, she may not, she may beat it, she may not, I don't know. But would you support hiring her again? I know it's the super and the school committee, but you're ad hoc or de facto really the boss in that whole place. Would you support her being hired again?
I mean, you know this is ongoing litigation, and I can't possibly comment on that. But what I can say is that what I'm concerned about are what kind of a message it
litigation, it's a criminal trial. It's not litigation, it's a criminal trial.
It's litigation. And what I'm concerned about is all of our employees and the impact that this has on them. How can we make sure that what has happened with Principal Lamar doesn't happen with others, particularly if it's a situation that frankly doesn't merit being reported to DCYF.
I think you've done a good job cleaning it up. I think you've already done that. I'm asking you in concept, does it break your heart and does it make you think that this woman, one way or the other, when she works this thing out, is still hireable?
You know, again, I'm not gonna comment on current litigation and something that will likely have be in litigation in the future. My concern is going forward, our employees that we have, to make sure that they feel comfortable in their jobs and know that by doing the right thing, they're not going to be let off in handcuffs. That's what we've tried to reassure them, and that's my focus.
If the superintendent says, you know what, it's a bad all the way around, she's a good egg, and we're going to put her back in that school, are you going to respond well to that?
We'll cross that bridge when it gets there. I don't deal in hypotheticals. One thing we usually say among mayors is we deal with reality, right? We have reality in front of us.
She's got
solve
reality.
problems, and we have to fix them.
Well, it's going to come to
so
you
we'll
one way or the other.
cross that bridge if and when we get there.
Yeah, it's reality. It's going to come to you one way or the other. Prospects for 2018, things we don't know in 60 seconds or less for the city of Providence?
Man, there's so much going on, but my #1 priority remains the same, and that's making sure we're creating and opening new opportunities for our kids so that they're ready for the world that awaits them. Second to that is, we've made so much progress on the city's finances. People are investing in the city. People want to live in the city. We've got to keep a close eye on the finances, and I want to work towards a once-and-for-all solution to our long-term pension challenges. If we do that, this city is going to hit another gear and really boom.
All right, come back soon. Talk to you.
Will do.
All right, Mayor Elorza, final word when we come back. Stay with us. All righty. We got to get the mayor back more often, don't you think? Perhaps we'll be able to create a more, I don't know, informal process of conversation. In the meantime, we've got a crazy Washington and issues surrounding all sorts of FBI this and memo that, and we'll wrap up all of that tomorrow. See you on the radio at 3-2.